All right. So this morning I am talking about taxes. Taxes. So, what I've been proposing is that for independent contractors who do some work but not a ton of work, that there be a $5,000 kind of leeway. So, if you have a regular job, then you're paying at that regular job, you're paying your taxes, you're putting into FICA, you're putting into Social Security, I'm all like, etc. Now, if you're an independent contractor, like someone like myself who is an artisan who did artwork and jewelry, and you make $5,000 or less, I'm saying just cut them a break. Let them make the $5,000. They're starting a business or have a business that's that small, and let's just face it, it helps our economy to have small businesses out there, and to get new people to start new businesses. So, I'm also proposing that you put a tax ID number with the amount of tax that they would pay, whether it's goods or services, so that people who do stuff in different cities, like say someone who does some housekeeping every week, or every other week, however often it is, maybe they're in Martinsburg, but they also go to Hancock, Maryland. Now, crossing a state line is something different. If you do stuff in two different states, then, technically you're supposed to file two different tax forms. If you're living right on the border, this is kind of crappy. I'm all like, if it's under the $5,000, I say screw it. I'm all like, who cares? Okay? I'm all like, why should I have to fill out two forms? I'm all like, unless you want to give me another $5,000 from that state. I'm all like, I'm just kidding. I'm all like, no. I'm all like, so, keep it simple. I'm all like, so we'll just say that they do stuff in Martinsburg and they also do stuff in, is it Buckeye or Buck Hill? That would be technically two different cities, two different city tax and your state tax. I say that's too complicated. You're not making that much money, meaning you don't have enough money to hire an accountant to do your taxes. So, one tax for that state, for that tax ID. If you do stuff in another state, you're going to have to get a tax ID for that state and do a tax for that state, which will either keep you in state or have you learn how to do it in another state. And only one $5,000 deal for a person. So, different tax IDs for different things. So say I drive Uber or do Instacart. There's a tax for that. And then I do some housekeeping for someone. There's a tax ID and a tax specifically for that. All right? It is not too complicated. It's different services and it's different things. If you want it less complicated, then do one thing. Only drive Uber. The deal is that people aren't making enough money, okay, to live. And I mean live. I mean provide basic needs. That means food, liquid, clothing, shelter. Medical care should also be included in there. I'm all like, because often someone has to go to the doctor at least once a year, correct? This $5,000 should not affect a person's Social Security. It should not affect disability. It should not affect their VA benefits. It should not affect anything. It's $5,000. If most of you think about $5,000, I'm all like, most of you, can figure $5,000 can go like that, real quick. This $5,000 would allow people to start businesses or just, and just survive. I'm all like, or maybe more than survive for once. Maybe they'd be able to put away $100 or something a month for savings. Maybe they'd be able to get that pet they always wanted. Maybe they'd be able to move somewhere that the rent is a little more, but it's better for them or their kids. I'm all like, this could also allow someone who, is working a regular job to do stuff on the side. I'm all like, on the side means on the street you would call it a legitimate hustle, which means you're counting it, you're paying taxes on it. I'm all like farmers market stuff, like makers market stuff where I sold my artwork, like doing housekeeping. I'm all like, our seniors are disabled, they need help. A lot of places don't have something like I had in Minnesota, which is called a caddy waiver. That waiver is run by the state. You do an assessment, they assess your needs, and then they give a certain amount for the needs that you need met. In my state, Minnesota, where I used to live, it allowed me to get homemaking services. I'm disabled. I'm physically disabled. I'm all like, I also have depression and PTSD. That was first. I'm all like, I needed help with homemaking because it hurts me to do some of the basic things like scrubbing out a tub or repetitive motions like sweeping and mopping, stuff like that. It also allowed me to get some meals made because, let's face it, it was like a meal a day. And not even that necessarily. So it also allowed for if I needed medical equipment installed in my home or just medical equipment like period to live. That sort of thing also included, not for me, but if you needed it, PCA work. PCA is personal care attendant or personal care aide. That's someone who takes care of bathing, dressing, also depending on someone's circumstances, like washing their feet if they have gout on a more regular basis, especially if they can't necessarily reach down and get their feet. It also includes getting people out of bed. You're talking about people who have limb loss, who may not be able to extract themselves. It could also provide for medical equipment so that they could do something themselves. This waiver, I think, should be something that's in every state to cover stuff. Waivers can pay people directly, independent contractors included. So it doesn't have to just be to companies. Often, I would say 85% of the time, the waiver is run by an organization that has a case manager that visits the person, and then takes that assessment of their needs and then finds organizations or people to fulfill those needs that a person has. This caddy waiver deal is for people who I call special. I'm all like also angels. I'm all like who are some of the sweetest, most joyful people in the world. I worked with a person named David when I was 18. He had Down syndrome so bad that he kind of couldn't really talk with words. Those are the ones I categorize as angels. And the ones who are special are above that and can usually speak and often can tell you their needs if you ask the right questions. But sometimes don't know what their needs are. I'm all like, aren't thinking about it, because often they have a guardian or guardian ad litem or someone who's watching over them. They're often, kind of childlike in their affect, manner, and being, and needs special care. That caddy waiver follows them. I'm all like, it also follows disabled people. That includes veterans and people with mental health issues. So not just physical health issues. And then seniors who also need help and care. That's something I really believe that every state should take care of. This way we could keep people in their homes, whether that's an apartment or an actual home, instead of putting them in facilities. Facilities have been shown to, decrease a person's not only independence but their health in the long run, because, and it's not necessarily because the facility isn't addressing their needs. These people have been living on their own their whole life, and all of a sudden they're put in a situation where, their home is being taken from them because they may not be able to care for it in the way that they used to be able to. And that's really just not fair. We should want to keep people in the least restrictive setting possible, and the most independent setting possible, regardless of what their disability or abilities are. I really like the differently abled instead of disabled. Disabled means you're kind of discounting someone. So that's kind of my pitch on that. My other pitch is about this $5,000. Now, I know we can get this passed. I know that we can make taxes a lot more accessible and easy to do with this. It can also be an accountable thing as far as you file every year and the IRS goes, hold on, I've got another filing here with the same number. Now, do they have the same name or not? They're going to check into that. Then they're going to check into the payer and go, excuse me, did you use your tax number at this art fair or this city or whatever? No, I did not. Because whether it puts them over the limit of the $5,000 or not, you are now clued into someone who is doing some sort of fraud. Tax fraud. I'm all like, there's some ka-ching. Not to mention, if they're committing tax fraud, they might be committing identity theft or fraud or graft. I came up with identity graft maybe a month or two ago. It is when a person does identity theft by grafting together legal names of a person. But usually using the same social security number or using their social security number once they've changed the legal name. So, my adoptive name in 1984, before it changed, was Jolene Floors. JOLENE When I was adopted, it changed to JOLENEMARIEPELTON. Then, 10/27/2007, I changed my name legally to Jade, JADERAVENPELTON. Now, to graft it, you could put Jolene Raven Pelton. You could put Marie Jade Pelton. You could put Jade Marie Pelton or Jade Jolene Pelton. That's graft. Graft is also rampant in maiden names. So, like my mother, adoptive mother, Mary Michelle Pelton, was Mary Michelle Lacoste. So people now have her past name, or their Michelle Mary Pelton. So everybody really needs to pay attention to this stuff. You also need to pay attention to where are these taxes being filed from? Where are these jobs at? You should have an entire system set up for identity theft, graft, and fraud. We should be protecting people, and not making them foot the bill for what people are doing illegally to them. I'm all like, because most of the time, once the person finally finds out that they've had identity theft or fraud happen to them, they're cleaned out. They can't afford a lawyer. They can't afford protection. They can't afford any of that stuff. Let alone fighting in court that, they weren't two places at the same time. I'm all like, we know about people using people's social security number illegally in order to get jobs. Now, our social security